Today, let's take a Mississippi Gospel Minute and talk about a man, a fish, and a sermon. In fact, the shortest sermon ever preached. We've all heard or read about the account of Jonah. You know, the man in the Old Testament who ran from Jehovah God when he was instructed to go to Nineveh. We all know about the great fish that got it prepared to swallow Jonah as he was tossed from the ship in a storm, and how that fish vomited him out on the third day. You probably know how that Jonah finally went to Nineveh and told them what he had been sent to tell them in the first place. It's even likely that you remember how that Jonah was upset about the positive impact that those words had upon the Ninevites. It isn't outside the realm of possibility that you have an idea of how terrible those people were. In case you don't, their cruelty was legendary. They were well known for atrocities such as burning alive the children of their captives and for removing the skin of their victims, leaving them out for the sun, the animals, and the insects to finish off. If any civilization deserved to be wiped from the face of this earth, it would have been the Ninevites. The truth is that most of those who might watch this video can give a pretty good overview of all the events of the small book of Jonah. Some say it's an allegory and that such an event did not really happen. Others hold that it was a real event, and I'm in that group. I could be wrong, but I don't think that Jesus would have used Jonah as an example if it was not a real event in history. But that's not the point of this video, so we're moving on, and I want to focus only on Jonah's message and its effect. So what did he say? Was it a mind-blowing yet unknown concept that had never been taught before? Or was it some complicated system the Ninevites were required to follow that only Jonah could relay to them? Or was it an hours-long oration telling them about their shortcomings? No, no, and no. It was instead the shortest sermon ever recorded. All of that trouble for such a tiny message, but that message was effective. Yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. In the ancient Hebrew, the sermon consisted really of only 5 words. Really, God? You sent me here to these terrible people to tell them 5 words? That's what many would likely say, and from what we know about Jonah, it would not be out of his character either. But those 5 words had a tremendous effect on the Ninevites. In fact, Nineveh survived and thrived for another century and a half or so. What did the Ninevites do when they heard Jonah's sermon? They tried to rip Jonah's arms off, right? No, that's not at all what they did. So the people of Nineveh believed God, proclaimed a fast, and put on sackcloth, from the greatest to the least of them. They heard the word and they repented. They realized how evil they had been, they were sorrowful, and they turned from that evil. Now let's read about God's response to their response. Then God saw their works, that they turned from their evil way, and God relented from the disaster that he had said he would bring upon them, and he did not do it. Never mind that chapter 4 shows us that Jonah was angry that the sermon had actually accomplished its design. Never mind the hatred he apparently had for the people of Nineveh. Just focus on the fact that the words Jonah spoke were not his own, but those of God. Those words had the same effect the Hebrews writer penned some 800 plus years later in Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 12. That tiny sermon had the huge effect of turning a whole nation toward God. The Bible will turn anyone toward God if they will only allow it. If you are still living in your sins, stop. Seek God's forgiveness. Comment on this video or email us if you would like to know more about how to do that. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. This has been the Mississippi Gospel Minute.